Hello, it's a great pleasure for me to be able to share my work with you. Today I'll be reading from my book, Sonorous Worlds, Musical Enchantment in Venezuela, which can be found on the University of Michigan website. I'll begin by reading a little bit of the introduction. The sound of a flute beckons me to follow. I do. It takes me away from the din of children playing during the habitual recess that comes after music classes. I turn a corner of the building and continue down a long corridor. There I meet a little girl of about 8. She's kneeling in front of a bench, her toes pressed into the ground, and holding a flute high in her hands. Her eyes are fixed on a piece of white paper lined with staffs. The sheet music is propped on a bench, her makeshift music stand. Her thin fingers rise and fall like little hammers onto the silver keys of the flute. Her chin is cast slightly down as she directs a flow of air across the mouthpiece. I scramble to find my sound recorder. The girl is playing a passage from Tchaikovsky's March Slav and keeps stumbling on a high note that, as I know from experience, requires a tightening of the diaphragm and a prayer to the gods to come out right. Every time she gets the note wrong, she starts again. Finally, she gets it right. I sigh silently with relief. She puts her flute down. Only then does she feel my gaze and turn her head to look at me. I speak to her briefly, ask her what it is that she likes about music. With music, I create my own stories and bring them into being, she replies. The end of recess is then called, and she rushes to where the entire orchestra of 24 or so children between the ages of 6 and 10 is gathering for rehearsal. As I look on, I'm left thinking about her stories. Where do they come from? Where do they take her? The children are sitting on chairs, brought over to a meadow next to the school building. Many of the children are so small that their feet do not touch the ground. They begin playing the third movement of Gustav Mahler's First Symphony. Re, la, thump the drums, reminiscent of the human heart. At some point, they all put their instruments down and begin to sing. Re, la, in a low but powerful chant. Mothers are gathered nearby to listen. Some have children playing oboes, and the mothers breathe in and out in synchrony with the young players. A light wind is blowing, first seen when the tall centennial trees nearby begin to sway, and then felt as it gently descends to caress all of us gathered there. Within a few minutes, it is all over. The conductor's hands collect the sound, and then there is silence. But the music has transformed the atmosphere, still hovering above all of us, in the music-imbued silence. The encounter with the little girl kneeling on the floor so she could use a bench as a music stand has haunted me for years. There is only a single line in my field notes dedicated to her. A little girl is kneeling on the floor in front of a bench on which her score is poised, and the recording of her playing Tchaikovsky's slow and mournful melody. I never learned her name, and yet the sensorial memory of her lives with me in vivid detail. What was it that moved this girl to spend recess learning a passage from a piece by Tchaikovsky? What drove her mother to dedicate a few hours daily to bringing her to and from the music school? What did it mean for people involved in El Sistema to be moved so deeply by music? What repercussions did that experience have on their daily lives? Finally, why had such an extraordinary number of young people in Venezuela chosen to invest their desires in classical music? Thank you.